really the one takeaway point that I'd really like you to take from this evening is live your life, that we only have one crack at it, it's short, and so seize the day. On one of our recent Art of Dying Well podcasts, which you'll find on Spotify, on all the iTunes, you name it, it will be there. But one of the most recent ones was with a wonderful palliative care consultant called Julia Riley and our honorary research fellow, Dr. Sean Qureshi. And it's called Listen to Me, I'm Dying. And Julia, who has led many, many teams and really cared for over 50,000 people as they've died, said and says, every one of us is dying, and everyone should write this moment, this very moment in time, by saying it out loud, listen to me, I'm dying. That is, we can then process this message both in our head and in our heart. Dying is something that happens when we're living. It's only when we appreciate that we're dying that we really, really begin to live. If we appreciate our own dying, we may start to live in a different way. Start planning now to really live and live well now. Julia often says, how we live is how we die. I don't know whether you remember the great actor Robin Williams, who died prematurely, aged 63. It was in 2014 that he died. His Dead Poets Society in 1989 saw him playing a maverick English teacher, John Keating, inspiring a class of male students to seize the day and follow their dreams as unique individuals of value. And it's worth watching this clip. I watch it time and time and time again, showing them photos of past students of the school. He says, they're not that different from you, are they? Same haircuts, full of hormones just like you, invincible just like you feel. The world is their oyster. They believe they're destined for great things, which you all are. Just like many of you, their eyes are full of hope, just like you. Did they wait until it was too late to make for their lives even one iota of what they were capable? Because you see, gentlemen, these boys are now fertilizing daffodils. But if you listen real close, you can hear them whisper their legacy to you. Go on, lean in. And then he goes, carpe diem, carpe diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. And if there were audio-visual facilities, I would have played, but it doesn't matter, I would have played a clip from a wonderful film called My Name is Otto. Some of you may have seen it with Tom Hanks. If you haven't, it's well worth watching. And as you know, Otto is a grump who's given up on life following the loss of his wife and wants to end it all. But when a young family moves in nearby, he meets his match in quick-witted Marisol, leading to a friendship that will turn his world around. Otto really loved his wife, Sonia, and when she died, his world came to an end. In fact, he tried to end it several times. But after a time, he realizes, and this always gets to me when I watch the film, he says, now I think she wants me to keep living and I have things to do. And so again, that's another message that we all have a purpose. We all have things to do. And so make the most of the time. And you probably saw this week that Barbara Streisand, who's publicising her new book, said that she wished that she'd had more fun in her life. And she wants to use this opportunity to get in her husband's truck and just wander, go round, hopefully with the children, somewhere near us when they come over. They love playing with the dogs. She said, we have fun. And she said, I haven't had much fun in my life, to tell you the truth, and I want to have more fun. So that was only last week. And then in readiness for tonight, I saw the wonderful George Alagaya, the BBC News reader who died recently of bowel cancer. His parting message to us all when he was reading the news was, I've gotten to a place to see life as a gift rather than kind of worrying about when it's going to end, because he had that terminal prognosis, and how it's going to end, I've got to a place where I can see it for the gift it is. I feel that gift keenly every morning. And on a personal note, one of my dearest friends, James, who's very kindly come here tonight with me, he really has taught me how to live life better. James was taken into hospital earlier this year. He was 6 weeks in a coma, and he came out of it, thank God, and is with us tonight. His life definitely has purpose. So from May to September, James was hospitalised. He had a serious life-threatening illness, acute pancreatitis, and indeed nearly did die. And in a recent article that you wrote, you said in the end it was a question that my sister posed, which to me echoed one that Jesus put to the man languishing in the pools of Bethsaida in John's Gospel. Do you want to be made well? This led me to discover an inner sense that said, yes, I wanted to live. And in the end, this is James's words, there was no hiding from the notion that I'd been given a second chance, an opportunity to repent of past sins, to keep away from bad habits, and to head in a different direction. It's that sense that staring death in the face, which you were, James, being at the gates of death, as Rowan Williams has called it, can make you focus on living a better life with God and how your life impacts on eternity in mind. James, I don't know whether you wanted to share anything more.
Maybe when we have a discussion.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Yeah, no, of course. I've been concentrating on life, because dying is about living, and I suppose that's the message I really want to share with you. But John, as you said that with your father-in-law being given a terminal prognosis, and that you're living with him in these days where he is, I'm sure, truly living. How do you best care for him, and how do you best understand the process that he is going through? So this is really a time that many of you may well have already been through it in terms of accompanying somebody that you love as they're dying. But these are just a few I suppose hopefully helpful pointers and guides. In my work at the Centre for the Art of Dying Well, I worked with a think tank called Demos, and we collected over 110,000 posts from public online forums where people were discussing issues related to death, dying, and end-of-life care. So those forums were dating from 2003 to 2020, 7 public forums and social media platforms. And through them, we identified 5 key themes which merited sort of further exploration. Grief, conversations centering around grief and bereavement, care, people's experiences of being cared for or being carers themselves, existential, discussion of existential beliefs about life and death, and online forums themselves, discussions of the online forums and the role that they play in people's lives, and animals, conversations around the grieving of or the support offered by pets. And our research found that online spaces are supporting people in 3 key ways: providing comfort and validation from others going through similar experiences, enabling users to build their own capabilities by building their understanding and access to information about end of life, and acting as a space where communities can develop to support others and be supported themselves. So people are looking for comfort, they're looking for capability, they're looking for connection, and they're looking for community. That was what was coming out of the 110,000 posts about death, dying, and bereavement. So people want to have agency in their own process, to understand and to be able to freely discuss the challenges that they face, and to be centered in determining the support they require. And as I mentioned, another important finding was that animals have a special significance as they have a connection to the deceased, especially when the person they have lost had loved or cared for the pet. And this was a bolded-eyes quote from the data. "My dog is a great comfort, like I know they are for many here. He was my husband's service dog and is by my side all the time." And a recurrent theme was also that people don't appreciate the bond that some have with their animals. The loss of a dog is enormous for those who love them as much as we do. How can we best support those in our circle of care to die well? We have to allow people to approach death in their own way. Some want to plan and know trajectories and timescales. Some don't. There is no right or wrong. Give them time, attention, and the things that they need to make them feel safe and comfortable. Listen with all your senses to what they need and what they say, and respond. Allow others from outside the circle in. They are probably the ones that your loved ones will want to confide in. And learning from Julia Riley, Professor Julia Riley, who I've mentioned before, who's been alongside 50,000 people as they've died, she says, ask open questions. What do you understand by what you've been told? What are your thoughts? It's a very open question, but it makes sure that you don't put your foot in it and say something that it's deeply upsetting at a time when people are at their most vulnerable. Let the person who is in this position lead the conversation. By doing that, you find out where they are. They may have been told they are dying, but they may not have got there yet. They need to catch up. Talking it through with you enables them to come to terms with it. More open questions, the more they can catch up with it. And this is an example from the consultant's chair. Professor Julia Riley was about to meet an individual who was dying on his own. He'd just been told he was dying. He came to her clinic and the referral letter said, "Please talk about dying." She did what she usually did and asked what he had been told, what his thoughts were. They then went on to his goals. In his goal, the man said that he did not want to die alone. She remembered that this man had lived on his own all his life. He was a single gentleman and he was born in the same house. He was a lawyer. It came as a real shock when he said to her that he didn't want to die alone. And she says that when you ask people their goals, you can never predict their response. She said that we offered him a package of care. He wasn't keen on that. A hospice, no, he wasn't keen on that. How about some friends? No. He said that he doesn't have any friends or acquaintances. She suggested, how about you go and talk to someone and maybe they can help you enter into a rota with other professionals. And it was left at that, just enough for him to cope with. He was due to come back to clinic a week later, only he pitched up 5 days later and said that he'd had a discussion with one of his oldest mates who said, "Don't be ridiculous, come and live with us." And so he said, "Well, what do you think I should do?" And Julia said, "Well, you don't want to be on your own. Why not? Go and live with them." He lived in a central London flat. They lived in Dorset. So she said, "Go and try. And if it doesn't work out, we can come back to plan A." And off he went. A package of care was organised for him in Dorset. She heard nothing more. 3 weeks later, after he'd left for Dorset, a card arrived for her. On the card, he'd drawn a little sketch of the house and he wrote, "I went to heaven before I died, thank you." Then about 6 weeks later, she received a wonderful letter from the wife of his friend who wrote to say, "I just want to say thank you, that this has been the most wonderful time of their lives. Each night we'd have a glass of champagne in his tiny little room upstairs. One day he put his glass down, took both of their hands, closed his eyes, and he died. And she said, 'You gave us such a great gift.'" The 3 words that are the most important words to share and to share often are thank you, I love you, I'm sorry. And very often they're the three words that we will share at our own deathbeds, and we will share with others when they're dying. But I'd say to you that actually say them now. It's to try and get into the daily habit or the weekly habit of saying thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, because it's sometimes it's the fact it's good to say it before it may be too late. It's never too late, but it's a wonderful, wonderful habit to get into, to be grateful and to say I love you and to say I'm sorry. And it may seem very, very, very early, but I'd also advise to think about making a will, because none of us ever know. And it's just even to write down on a piece of paper what you would like, who you would like to give things to. And also for many, they think about preparing their funeral as well. So it's the whole thing about planning, saying thank you, saying I love you, and saying I'm sorry. And live your life, seize the day.